بسم العظيم العظيم الأجل الأكرم يا الله يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحيات والإكرام على أشرف الأنبياء سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا مولانا أبي القاسم محمد مصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. اللهم صل على أئمة المسلمين لا سيما بقية الله العظيم روحي وأرواحنا العالمين والفداء. أما بعد، قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في قرآنه الكريم وقولك الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة المتقين والحمد لله رب العالمين. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank the elders of the community. I'd like to thank all the ulama who have worked on this book. I'd like to thank Sister Sakina, I'd like to thank Sister Malak, and each and every individual, especially my parents, who gave me the motivation and power to work on this project, alhamdulillah. And one person I'd really like to thank is my teacher, Samahat Sheikh Mansoor Lagai, hafidhullah, who was actually a motivation, who was an inspiration, who is one of those people who without him, this book wouldn't be here, neither would I be here. Nor would a lot of people be here today, because to him and to the Imam of our time, I dedicate this book, inshallah. If we look throughout history, we see the focus of our Imams and their geopolitical situation towards one particular thing, one particular mindset that they tried instilling within the people of each and every time. So it's the Tawheedi mindset. And no one is in a better position than the Imam to understand this mindset. So it is not our goal from this book to understand that mindset. If we look at history and our Imams and how they propagated Islam, it was through different methods. Imam Hassan propagated Islam through spreading peace. Imam Ali propagated Islam through his fiery sermons. Imam Hussein propagated Islam through his sword. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam propagated Islam through his du'as when he had nothing else left to help him propagate this religion. Hence, we have the book Sahih al-Sajjadiyya. I'm sure you have all heard of this book. Especially during this month, this book is one of those books which we don't let go of. It is one of those books which we always refer back to for our du'as, for our spirituality. And through this book, the Imam showed us what it means to be a true Muslim, the characteristics of a true Muslim, how we should run our daily lives to the poetic nature of his du'as. One of the du'as that he taught to one of his companions was Abu Hamza Thumali. And one famous line that we remember from that du'a every Ramadan, we recite the du'a every morning, is Sayyidi, akhrij hubb ad-dunya min qalbi. No matter how eloquent one may portray his speech to be, no matter how eloquent one may write, no one can write more eloquent than the Quran. What was written in Nahj al-Balagha and what was written in Sahih al-Sajjadiyya by Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. And through this one line, he established a doctrine. He established a principle that lasts till today. And this is a principle on how to run our lives. Sayyidi akhrij hubb ad-dunya min qalbi. Oh my master, please remove the love of this world from my heart. If you look at the book, it's on the back of the book. If you go to the conclusion of the book, that's how we start the conclusion. If you look on the bookmarks, it's on the bookmarks too. Sayyidi akhrij hubb ad-dunya min qalbi. This line sparks revolutions within one. This line should spark a revolution within one. And we are all fallible beings. We all were born at one point on this fitrati mindset that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had instilled in each and every one of our minds. How we run our lives. Our innate nature, which tells us this is good, this is bad. Don't do this because I don't feel comfortable doing this. So the innate nature gives you comfort, gives you satisfaction with yourself. That is why أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. The remembrance of Allah gives peace, tranquility to your heart. That is why يَا أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّةُ ارْجِعِي إِلَىٰ رَبِّكِ رَاضِيَةً مَرْضِيَّةً. Oh, you who are content, return to your Lord while He is satisfied with you and while you are satisfied with Him. And we see through the du'as of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, this is exactly what he was trying to do. Get the satisfaction of Allah. Every single thing he asked from Allah, not something physical, not any material benefit. No, he was asking, Sayyidi akhrij hubba dunya min qalbi. Sayyidi, make my relation with you better. How? By removing the wealth, by removing the love of this world, removing the love of this wealth from my heart. And what does that lead you to? God's satisfaction. What is God's satisfaction? It will give you a soul which is content, which is peaceful, which knows what it's doing, a soul which is not jumping from side to side. That is what nafsul mutmainna is. That is what an itminan nafs is. A nafs, a soul which is content. And anyone can achieve this. Anyone can achieve this. Rasulullah was sent as Uswatul Hasana, as the best of role models. If he was sent as a role model, then surely his status is achievable by each and every one of us. So if we want to reach that status, there are two criteria. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainna, irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah. Return to your Lord while you are pleased with Him and while He's pleased with you. How can we please Allah and how can He be pleased with us? Sayyidi akhrij hubba dunya min qalbi. My Lord, remove the love of this world from my heart. That is it. Once you remove the love of this world from your heart, the love of Allah will automatically be placed in. Because the love of this world is in complete contrast with the love of Allah. Now, that was the mindset behind this book. We have this Tawheedi mindset. Everything in society to become ideal, to become perfect, must be run on this mindset. God doesn't look at things from two lenses. God doesn't think of something this way and this way. No, He thinks of something in one way. When God thinks of something, when God has the intention of something, it is reality. Hence, He does not think of multiple contradictory things. His mindset does not contradict. When God says something, when God sees something through, that's how it is. No changing to it. There's no past, present, future for it. That's how it is. That's how it will end up being. When we see things, because we are in this limited scope of time and space, we see it through different angles. And then we pluralize how God sees it. We think that God sees it this way. God does not see it this way. We think God sees it this way. And hence we make that our mindset and ideology. If we cautiously or subconsciously, we think God sees it this way, that's why I see it this way. Right? Because humans, cautiously or subconsciously, are always submitting to a higher power. Whether they know it or not. And they see things the way they think the higher power sees them. So if we are materialists, if I am a materialist, I see God through a pragmatic lens. I see God looking at things the way I see them. Okay. But that's not how God looks at things. Hence, I don't believe in God. Because that's not how the real God looks at things. That's how some made-up God in my mind looks at things. أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَى. Have you not seen him who has taken his desire as his Lord? The Quran says, making one desire his Lord is seeing things to his desire as the state of perfection. Hence, he follows his desire instead of his word. That was chapter 2. So that is basic outline. That is what we want to achieve by this. What does God want you to see this book? We start off the book by introducing in the introduction the Tawheedi mindset. What does it mean, the Tawheedi mindset? Does everyone have the Tawheedi mindset within them? They just have to awaken it? Yes. God says, فَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, I read into him my own soul. Right? So then we discuss that. Alright, let's move on. First chapter, we discuss how do we know that God has a soul? The most simplest proof. Again, in the first introduction, I mentioned this is not meant for philosophical debates. You're not supposed to use this book to go and show an atheist or to show the official. Because materialism is an official doctrine too. We have to understand that. The materialism we're discussing here is not the same as the official doctrine of materialism. Leninism, Stalinism, right? Communism. We're not discussing that. We're discussing an overall perspective on this topic. So the materialism we're discussing here is different from the doctrine of materialism. So hence this is not meant for philosophical debates. You're not supposed to go use this book in philosophical debates, please. You're going to embarrass me and yourself. But this is meant to provide a very basic understanding. We go to works of Shaheed Murtaza. What does Shaheed Murtaza see? He provides multiple perspectives on materialism. What was the most simple perspective on materialism? What did he see of this Hubba Dunya within us? How does it go in contradiction with monotheism? In a very simple manner. And then what does the Quran have to say about this? Does the Quran explain the deeper philosophy of this? That's the Quran, which we just talked about. Then what does history see about this? And I think this is the most fundamental chapter in the whole book. If we don't have a historical perspective on anything, we won't be able to achieve anything with this book. Chapter 3, we discuss history of materialism. Brothers and sisters, the Quran mentions history. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Yusuf, Surah Al-Yusuf, almost the whole surah is talking about a story of the Prophet Yusuf sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, right? Allah says, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ الْأَحْسَنِ الْقَصَصِ بِمَا أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ وَإِن كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلِ لَفِي غَافِلِينَ. We recount to you the best of the stories from this Quran. And prior to you, people prior to you were ghafil, they were heedless about these stories. Because they were heedless about the stories, and we discussed the story of Prophet Yusuf, the brothers of Yusuf, since they were heedless about the stories of the prophets before them, they then did a major sin. They went and dumped Prophet Yusuf in the well. And Allah is saying in this surah, in this holy surah, Allah is saying that these stories that we're telling you, they're not for play, fun, and just to read as bedtime stories. No, they are there. They're serious stories for everyone to contemplate upon and take a lesson from it. So we start off with the Quran, with the story of Qarun. We discussed the story of Qarun and who was this person, Qarun. I'll leave it up to the book. If I start explaining everything here, there'll be no point in buying the book, right? So, inshallah, then we continue on, right? But the story of Qarun isn't enough, because I said this chapter of history is very fundamental. Like what happened in early Islam? Because yes, Allah sent the Quran for the people of early Islam, right? They were the first recipients of the Quran. How did they take these stories? Did they act upon these stories? Who was Abu Sufyan? What was his motive? Who was Abu Bakr and Umar ibn Khattab, and what were their motives? What happened after the demise of the Prophet? Was it so simple, black and white, or was there some fishiness going on from before the demise of the Prophet? Why is it that we have so many weak ahadith today? What was the motive behind the corruption in the Muslim Ummah? Why don't we have the Imam of the time today? And as you notice at the beginning, I said this book is dedicated to the Imam of the time. It all centers back to the Imam of the time. Why don't we have the Imam of the time today? What did people in the past do that the Imam of the time wasn't here today? Then Karbala, what happened there? I'm sure we all know this one. It's a good reminder. Next, this book would not be complete unless we show the effects of materialism. Right? Lectures. Professor Tim Kasser wrote a book, The High Price of Materialism. I would advise everyone to abandon this book and go check out that book, by the way. So basically, I take a few researches that he did, a few other researches other psychologists and scientists did, and then based on the researches of those psychologists and scientists, we compile this 4th chapter in which we discuss how materialism affects us today. Why is it relevant to us? Forget about what the Quran had to say about it. Forget about what Imam Sajjad had to say in Dua Abu Hamza Tamari, where he goes on line upon line, talking about Hubb ad-Dunya, talking about what was wrong with the people, talking about what he wanted to gain out of God. Forget about all of that. Now look at what Western psychology has to say about this. It's a serious disease. It is really serious. Once you look at the lectures, or once you look at the research of some of the psychologists that we have today, some of the philosophers that we have today, how can we see the effects of this in our daily lives? What are we doing incorrectly that we are seeing these effects? Have we linked some of these effects with materialism? Serious amounts of contemplation goes into this one. And then, fine, that's there, our personal thing. Maybe I'm not a materialist, inshallah I'm not, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'm not, inshallah. But, I'm just joking. But, if I'm not a materialist, why is it relevant to me? Why should I care? I have so many other books to read. MashaAllah, we have The Echoes of Stone sitting in the back for people to read. We have many better books to be reading. But why should I care? Materialism is something I'm not even affected by. Well, it's not just you. It is someone who you're hanging out who's a materialist who's affecting you. It is the education system which has been built upon the foundations of materialism which is affecting you. It is the capitalist system that you're living in today that is affecting your materialistic mindset. And all of this has taught us to devalue education, intellectualization. And once intellectualization is devalued, they can get into your mind easily and make you think however way they want you to think. So if you want to think the way God wants you to think instead of the way they want you to think, you must remove what they want you to think to put in what God wants you to think. And that can be done through a process of reflection, through a process of self-contemplation, which will eventually lead you to the final chapter of this book. Inshallah, if you guys have all read the book, don't jump to the final chapter because there's a lot of building up that goes into it. Zuhd. I was very hesitant on this chapter. I did not initially want to include this. Not that it was my ego telling me that I did not want to include this, but rather I was thinking that people might not be ready for it. Hence, I had to simplify it a lot. It was already very much simplified. Zuhd is a very important subject. Western society has devalued it. If you go and open Western news channels, if you go and open BBC, CNN, when they have to target Muslims, number one thing they bring to target Muslims is a zuhd. They have nothing better to bring up about Muslims, so they bring up a zuhd. Why? We have so much literature on it. Isn't there any clarification for it? Apparently not. You go and look at books about zuhd in English, you find none. There are no books out there talking about zuhd in English. Interesting. If there are, please let me know. I would love to see. Even if there are, they're from the Sufis perspective. They're from the Ahl Sunnah perspective. The people who go out and live in the mountains for the rest of their lives, they wrote these books. MashaAllah, they're much advanced than us in this area. The people who spend all day inside the room, lock themselves up praying, they never buy new clothes, they wear heavy woolen coats and sit in the deserts and sweat all day. May Allah accept their amal, even though that will never happen, because they have put in so much effort and work into their stuff. They misunderstood Zuhd. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, someone approaches him, and look at the audacity of this person. He starts screaming at him. He starts lecturing Imam Sadiq. Who is this person? in front of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Sadiq was wearing a nice gown, right? A new gown. He was doing Hajj. Someone approached Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Wailakum. Ya wali Allah fil ard. Yabna Rasulullah. What are you doing? Your father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, lived a simple life, miserable life, living on the crumbs of the people, barely eating hard bread, wearing torn clothes at the point where he had to go to the tailor, the dazi, and show him his clothes, and he was embarrassed at how torn his clothes were. Oh, then someone approached him and said, what are you doing? Weren't your forefathers like this? Why are you breaking the tradition of your forefathers? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam replies to him. And I'll leave the rest of the reply for you guys to read in the book. I won't continue on. It is better to understand one hadith than to memorize 1,000 hadiths. Now go read the book for the rest of the reply. I won't give you the rest of the reply. And then also, isn't this world a means for us to reach the akhirah? As this world is a means for us to reach the akhirah, doesn't it mean the more of this world we have, the more of the akhirah we will have? So then why are we talking about a zuhud or abstaining from this worldly life? What is this thing that scholars are now suddenly bringing up? Even though the Quran says, enjoy whatever we have provided for you, halal at-tayyibah. The rest of it is for you guys to go read this book. I'm not going to spoil much more because otherwise I can go on and just read the whole book to you guys. Yeah, no, I can summarize the whole book for you and there'll be no point. Everyone can go home without buying a copy tonight. And then all these copies will go to waste. What? No, there's much more. There's much more for you guys to go and read. Lastly, we conclude. In the conclusion, I didn't write much. Because I knew you guys would eventually go and read more books on this. So I didn't feel it necessary to write a conclusion. In fact, I copy-pasted some of the conclusion from the introduction. So, if you guys go read the conclusion, you guys have a lot of strength. But may Allah bless you too.
You plagiarize yourself.
Yeah, plagiarize myself, right? No, but like it was the gist of the introduction, right? It is because I believe this book is never a conclusion. It's never a jama. It will never be a jama. You will never have this book as a jama. Forget about it being a jama. If you want to go do research in the philosophy aspect, Shaheed Sadar's books are available, subhanAllah, get a master of this field. I don't even need to open those books for you and talk about them. I mentioned Shaheed Sadar maybe once or twice in this book because I have no business touching his work. Because it's not necessary. His book is already comprehensive enough. But that book is too advanced for a lot of people. Hence, you need a little simplification for it. Fine, Shaheed Mutahhari has books simpler than Shaheed Sadar's books. Go look at Shaheed Mutahhari's books, translated into English. They're still a little complicated, but bismillah, go ahead and read it. Fine, philosophy is done there. What about Quranic aspect? The whole Quran is talking about materialism. Every time it talks about those who are against the Imams, those who are against the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they always have a materialistic agenda. Notice this is the pattern across the whole Quran. Open me to a verse about the munafiqeen. It's talking about the materialism. Open to me a verse about the kafirin. It's talking about the materialism. It has the materialist included in it. Open to me a verse about the mu'mineen. It talks about the zahideen. Right? Those who are not. Those who are believers, those who practice abstinence from this world. Open to me a verse about those who stay silent. It will be about those hypocrites. It will be about those who do not have any clue. Open to me a verse about those who are not knowledgeable. Open to me about the verse that, with all due respect to all of us, that Allah calls them dumb. Alright? Those verses are all about the materialistic people. الَّذِينَ يُرِيدُونَ حَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. The contrast of this would be الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمِ. The story of Qarun, right? Allah describes two different types of people. Now I'm giving the book too much, but let's just cover this one point. الَّذِينَ يُرِيدُونَ حَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. Those who want the life of this world. The opposite of those, the Quran says, الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمِ. Those who have knowledge, those who have understanding. And I'll leave it off at that, for everyone's conclusion, because it's written in the book. What more we can derive from these two verses? Precious value. Fine. want to understand more deeper aspects of materialism, the Quran and Hadith are great places to start. You want to understand history of materialism? Tariq Tabari, Ibn Hisham, Allama Majlisi's book are great places to start. The Quran has history of materialism. The Bukhari, Muslim, Musnad, Ibn Hanbal, all of these books, go to them, you'll find the history of materialism. I have no business saying it except a simplification of it. You want to study the psychological Western perspective on it? Go read the books of Professor Tim Kasser. Go read the books of other Western professors. There are hundreds of books written on materialism, and I can guarantee you all of those books are being sidelined by the governments, by the general public, by those who don't want these books to be read. Go read these books if you want a deeper understanding. If you want a deeper understanding of Zuhd, again I said there's no English publication on Zuhd. Learn the language of Arabic. Go to Qom, study Zuhd over there. That's the best place to study Zuhd. Go to Najaf, go to the libraries of Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi. You will find hundreds of books on Zuhd over there. Open Al-Kafi, open Muslim, open Bukhari, open Wasail al-Shia, for example, open Al-Wafi, open Al-Mizan, open Tafsir Nur Thaqalain. Any of these books you will find hadiths about Zuhd, materialism, all of them are over there. I don't need to mention it all to you. This book is only a mere simplification. This book is for them. Don't get me wrong, it has a lot of good information for people to read. I don't want everyone to be like, after this I'm going to go to the original sources. No, this book has a lot of good information for each and every one of us to take lessons from too. Especially the material which doesn't come from me. I'll tell you that. That material is actually precious. That is how our scholars work. They take all aspects of it and compile it. Now I won't speak much because I can see the tiredness in people's faces, and I'm sure everyone wants to go home. Are there any questions from anyone?
You gave it all away.
Are there any questions from anyone for the editors? For the author, for the designer of the cover?
How was it before?
What?
How was it before?
Oh yes, I forgot to cover the most important part. If you'd like to purchase the book, they're available back there. Paperback, $15. Hardcover, we don't have any back there available for sale right now. But inshallah, we do plan to get them in the coming days. They'll be for $20. They can be purchased off of Amazon, inshallah, in the future off of other publications. Bi'amrillah. And that is our goal, inshallah, to spread knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. It's the duty of each and every one of us to spread the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. It is the duty of each and every one of us to read books, to write books, to compile things, especially in the field of novels. I was told there's a lot of lack in novels, so if you guys are compiling things, compile novels regarding the Ahlul Bayt and their teachings, the stories of the Shuhada, people like Shaheed Murtaza. There can be much work done, inshallah, and we do plan to continue, inshallah. So if there are no more questions, I would like to give one last thanks. Oh yes, there are snacks at the back too. I think a lot of us came for the snacks, so I think no one came for the speech. A lot of people came for the snacks. So if anyone wants snack, there's lemonade, cookies, and croissants, and cupcakes too. What?
No iftar?
Materialism, man.
Materialism.
I was gonna say even the $15 is materialism. I'll make dua for you instead.
MashaAllah. Before, I'd like to thank Sister Malak once more, Sister Sakina once more, the publication team at IEC for helping us organize this event, the elders in the community, my parents especially, my teacher Samahat Sheikh Mansoor Laghai Hafidhullah, and I can never forget this person because I called him up last minute. He read the book last minute. 2 days later he got to me with the feedback of the book, and then maybe 2 weeks later he got to me with the forward of the book. His name is Samahat Sheikh Haydar Shirani Hafidhullah. He is from Vancouver, Canada. He's an amazing person, inshallah. If any of you guys see him, please thank him on my behalf too. But also take benefit from him and all the rest of our ulama who have done a great job in compiling this book. And inshallah, please forgive me if there was anything wrong said and done.
especially in this speech, because this speech was done on spot. I never prepared for it. All of this was said on spot, alright? Never had this prepared. And especially in the book, because the book went through a lot of editing, so I'm hoping there's nothing incorrect in there. But if there is, please forgive me in advance. And again, this book is dedicated to Imam al-Hujjah Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif. Allahumma inna narghabu ilayk fi dawlatin karima وعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فاحفظنا ما فصلنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم نور به شعتنا واشعب به صدورنا واتر به قلتنا وعزز به ذلتنا واغفر به عائلنا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. If you guys like the book to the Echoes of Stone, if Sister Sakina, one more request, if you could sign the copies for the people who purchased it today. And there are many other great books back there. The etiquettes. Sister Sakina again designed the cover for that. So I guess it's more of a Sister Sakina's event than anyone else's event. So she designed the cover for that, mashallah. She did some illustrations in that too. And Islamic Belief is also back there. Amazing books. And in fact, if you're not any book more deserving, any books back there other than the Materialism book are more deserving to be bought today. If you're honest, if you guys like, please purchase those books too, inshallah. And if anyone would like to get the book signed, Bismillah, and please get the Echoes of Stone signed by Sister Sakina. I was told that they're not selling out for some reason. Bismillah.